LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, X, we're pretty much everywhere. Podcast as well. This is not Coffee with Goffy. This is Pint with Paul. Every question is on the table tonight. What do you want to talk about? What can I do to help you? Who wants to go first?
I got one. TNPT here. TNPT here, Hollywood. Insurance-based clinic owners are calling you reckless. Pay is a fad. What do you say to their face?
First of all, do we have any insurance clinic owners in the room? Okay, we do, right? We have. So I have to be careful. So what was the question? They're calling me a fad. They call me reckless.
They say cash pay is a fad. What do you say to their face?
I think far from reckless. I think there is and has been for a decade, maybe two, an inevitability that the profession has to move towards more cash pay. It appears reckless because it is a shift from what was probably the identity for 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe decades, that a business had to be run with a doctor involved and an insurance company that authorized the treatment. And I think anytime anything new or anything that shifts the thinking of the masses, which it is, right? There's no denying it. And I'm looking at insurance clinic owners, and I was one myself in England, that the business was built on the mainstream. It was built on how everybody else did it. It was built upon the traditional way. It was built upon the norm, the consensus, let's call it, where 95% of people ran a business. They started a clinic. They talked to doctors. They signed up with in-network insurance companies. They signed up with insurance companies, to stay in network. When you've got a consensus of 95% of people doing that, anybody that comes along that gives a slightly different view of the world could be deemed reckless because nobody knows, it doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel, and I still think to this day, cash pay PT is still a taboo subject. It's still but that can't happen. If you went inside and you took this camera and microphone inside of the home of a PT who is an insurance-based business, and let's say that's a guy for 20 years has run an insurance business, and you said to his wife, your husband's going to go cash tomorrow, she'd probably divorce him. Genuinely, she would be, what the hell are you going to do? How will we survive? How will that happen? How will we ever make any money? You can't do it. The patients will walk away from you. They'll all disown you. We'll never be able to make ends meet. I think, and that story I've just told you is probably I've heard 20 times from business owners that I've worked with, where they're on board with it, but the idea of telling the wife or the husband that they're going to deviate from that norm is they just can't even consider doing it, because the wife or the husband or the family are entrenched in the normal understanding of how a business is run when it comes to PT. So I don't think it's reckless. I think it's misunderstood, and I think it's still very, even though the movement for cash pay, and I still think cash pay isn't starting a business that is 100% cash. It's an insurance business that is looking for more cash pay inside of it, right? Which is the very smart model these days. But I think that the reckless, I don't agree with. I think it's the nervous system response to the norm, which is probably 4 or 5 decades in the works. And if you hear somebody talking about starting a completely from scratch cash pay PT clinic, that still to this day bucks the trend of the masses in America. You forget, right? And even people listening to this, right? There's 20 people already on here. If I was doing this in a room in front of 200 random PTs, the reality is 180 would be typical insurance, right? Business, because that's the norm. And if we went around America, 80%, 90% would be traditional insurance businesses. So somebody like me comes along and says, hey, let's start talking about cash pay and get people to pay out of pocket and wellness and concierge and membership and monthly payments and so on. That's a sticker shock moment to most people. And they probably need to hear it for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 years before they actually even believe that it's possible. And that's why, candidly, why we do what we do, right? You guys come along, you come to events, you'll come to an event and you'll sit on stage and you'll see somebody who goes, we were 100% cash insurance based, and now we're 70%. Jen Penrose. Jen Penrose is going to come to the summit in 3 weeks, and she will sit on stage and tell you that she was FUCK-ED'd because she was all insurance. And if she didn't move to some version of cash pay, membership, concierge, Stimpod, insert the blank, she wouldn't have been able to survive. Now she's got one of the most successful businesses in the community. $2 million business, making great money, having a good life, enjoying her life. But she evolved through that. And the true story on that with Jen, how I met Jen, 2017, I did a talk in Chelan in Washington, right? Never heard of it in my life. Flew to Seattle, 3-hour drive to Chelan. And she will tell you this to this day. I stood on stage in front of 185, I think, Washington State private practice owner members. And I started talking about cash pay PT back in 2017. I'm this kid from England, come over, been hired to speak, share the knowledge of like how to build a cash practice. And after about an hour, some guy put his hand up and he said, excuse me. He said, there must be a mistake. He said, we're all insurance businesses. We don't do cash PT. And I remember in my head thinking, shit, have I planned an entire day around cash PT and it's not legal in Washington? I generally remember thinking, am I in trouble for the rest of the day? Because I'm going to teach this lot how to do cash pay and it's actually not legal in Washington. And then I was like, no, like you can do cash pay. Like you can do it. You can like charge for money and you can step out of insurance and you can add services. And this guy was like, we can't do that, right? And then it started a bit of a conflict. And Jen was one of them who was like, no, we can, just most people in here choose not to. So I'm sat back at this point now watching all these like fucking Washington State PTs argue with each other over whether or not this was legal, right? And I'm thinking, shit, Jen got me out. She got me out of jail, Jen, right? And I'm going, oh God, right, I can get on with the rest of the day here. So this guy was the equivalent of that, which was like, what do you say to the people who think it's all hype and this, that, and it's like, well, no, it was just his nervous system basically going, shit, like this isn't even an option. We can't do this, right? But Jen was probably one of 5 out of 180 who goes, no, this is where we have to go, guys. Like the problem with some of the states, and this was Washington State, was their reimbursements were so high, none of them ever had to do it. So you know, what are you, 2 states above? There might be one in the middle, and then you're into Washington. Washington was getting probably $185 reimbursements at this point. Like California, you guys were getting 100, 105, right? I'd gone into San Jose, Kim Gladfelter's clinic up near you in San Jose in the Bay, and they were probably getting 102, 105 at this point for Medicare. This was 2017. So again, I'm going into these clinics going, this is where you need to go. Now, California knew they needed to do it because it was getting $90,000 salaries, $105 reimbursements. This isn't adding up. Washington, yeah, it was getting higher for salaries, but the reimbursements were still $185. So most of the people in Washington State, they're just like, nah, we don't need to do cash PT. Jen was like, no, but this is coming. Like over the next 2, 3, 5 years, they're going to reduce our reimbursements and all these things are going up. So she was one of the early adopters to what was happening. So I just think a lot of it is a sticker shock. It's nervous systems. It's what we know to be true. And it's the belief of the masses that is the only way to do it. Now, I'm fully in agreement with what you guys have done, where you start your business, you get your volume, you get your people through the doors, but you must very quickly jump from $100 45-minute sessions to that client. The only reason, this will sound so brutal, but the only reason for that client was for the next thing. There isn't any business that you would want that runs an insurance business that doesn't operate like that. The reason for this initial interaction with that back pain was that I got the chance to talk to you about this, which is your model, the wellness, all of the different things that you can do. Those are the businesses that are smashing it in you know, so you don't have to be all cash, but you have to have one eye on what else will the public buy from me outside of the scope of billing. And anybody that, I've been saying this for 10 years, and since COVID, because the real cost of your running a business is probably being 25 to 40% increase since COVID. So Florida staff, right? My staff are in the room. I could employ a marketing assistant in Florida for $30,000 to $35,000 when I moved over in 2019. I couldn't. You couldn't even start the conversation. Like that's in Florida. Never mind in other states in the last 5 or 6 years. But in the meantime, your reimbursements have gone down. How do you survive? The only option is more volume, and that's what people have done for 5 years, 10 years. I'll see more patients. We'll see more patients. We'll go from 3 an hour to 4 an hour. We had 4 front desk. We'll go down to 2. Great customer service is shit. Now nobody wants to come back. We can't sell them anything. So it's a downward spiral that happens. So in answer to your question, Mr. Pesky TMPT reporter, what was your second part of your question?
The second part of the question was.
Come on, you don't even know what your questions are. You're that bad these days. You just come here to yeah, but no, you're fucking reckless. You chase Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake around this city all day, every day. Never mind me. I think you get Britney the drinks.
The cash is a fad. What do you have to say to these people in the face? I got another question for you.
Go on then.
Well, people are calling your cash model a scandal. Charging patients directly, cutting out insurance. Some say that that's just wrong. How do you sleep at night? How do you sleep?
How do I sleep at night? One pillow on my neck, one pillow between my hips since I've had surgery. I sleep on my left side, which is causing my left shoulder to be a little bit of a problem. exactly what the things are. But they all had to follow this model of C-I, care, and it was built on like knock and ask and things, and it was wonderful when I read it. And I remember thinking this like completely opened my eyes to patients want a lot more than just great treatment. And this is what the whole UCLA medical system was built on. It wasn't just about the best doctor, it was about respect and empathy and kindness and time and all of these things. And I was like, oh wow, like nobody's ever really introduced me to this in a business model environment. I could pay you $100 more because you remember my name. Because that gives me a drug. That makes me feel good about myself. That if you remember my name and you say, Paul, after 2 years of being in the clinic, how's Tobias, how's Grace, and how's Harry? And I think, do you know what? These guys think I'm celebrities, right? Instagram's gone off for you guys. I don't know if somebody wants to put that back on for me. I would be happy maybe to pay you more money for that. But what we've been indoctrinated by is that it's only about what somebody can afford based upon my view of the world and the treatment that I'm getting. When the reality is every single client looks for something different in you. In my world, I talk to my staff constantly about what we do. You could come for an event, right? You could join my mastermind. You could come for an event. You could come for the weekly coaching calls. You could come for the one-on-ones. You could come for the group chats. You could come from the processes. You could come for the insurance net that I don't want to talk to you. We have and again, I'm letting you in on some secrets. We have a not dead yet list, right, in the office. And what that means is we could go 9 months without hearing from you. And we're like, is he dead? We've emailed him, we've rang him, we've called him, we've messaged him, we've asked him, we've sent letters, completely ignored us for 9 months. And we're like, but he's still paying us. Why does he still pay us? And then all of a sudden he pops back on a call and goes, I need some help. And then he'll just use us for 3 or 4 calls, gets what he needs and disappears. Then he's dead again for another 9 months. And then somebody in my team would go, but he hasn't used it for 9 months, or he hasn't been to an event, or he hasn't done whatever. And I go, it doesn't matter. He bought an insurance policy. He signed up for an insurance policy with Paul Goff Media that when the shit hits the fan or he needs some help, he will call, and he knows he can get a call with me or Luke or the team or you or whoever. And he got his money's worth on those 4 calls. But he also got his money knowing that if he had a problem at any point that day, that week, that month, he could call somebody. So his value was in the insurance. Somebody else never wants to come to an event, ever. But they're on every Wednesday call. They love the conversations. They love the camaraderie, me, whoever. Some never come on a Wednesday call and only do one-on-one. Some never come on a one-on-one. Some only come on an accountability call or a progress group call. And I've had to educate the team on all of this, that like it doesn't mean anything that you don't do this or you don't do that. It means that they value this piece and they've discerned that that money that they spent was worth it for that piece there. That's not how the common person in the world thinks. They associate money with this thing, right? Some people will walk into your clinic, and I put it to all of you guys in LA, and you're all going to shoot me down. And I had this argument once with a lady in New York. And she said, before I even tell you what it was, she said, the problem with people in New York, they just don't like spending money. I said, where are you based? And she said, wherever it was, Upper East Side. I was like, fuck you. What planet are you living on, right? Fuck. I said, like, what planet are you living on? She said, well, we've tried to sell them this and we've tried to offer them this. I said, you know what your problem is? And I said, you're not going to like this. I said, you're offering the same thing to the rich people as the poor people. You're offering the same thing to the people who live in the big fucking apartments in Upper East Side, in the $5 million mansions that come down to your clinic, as the people who might live in a little apartment on the other side of town. I said it pisses them off. They're not going to buy anything purely because somebody else can buy it. And that's not how people buy. Here in LA, right, same as New York, you will have people who are spending $10,000 on a boob job, right, on a lips, on whatever. And it's not just LA, it's all over the world now. But they will go to that doctor and spend 50 even though they can get the exact same procedure for 10, simply because they get to say, that was my doctor. And none of you believe it. And not, or you do and you nod. But the exact same thing happens and should be happening in your business, where I get to say, Jason's my physio. And even though it's 150 around the corner, it's 350 here, but I get Jason. Well, what's the difference? Well, Jason. I get the feeling that I get in the car on a morning to drive to Jason's clinic, knowing that Jason is my physio. And I'm willing to pay $150 more because I get the feeling from Jason being my physio. The handbag situation is one of the best examples I can give you. So there's a movie you should watch. It's called The House of Gucci. And if you haven't watched it, it's the best business lesson ever, right? And halfway through, the old guy who was Mr. Gucci, I believe, the daughter-in-law comes in. So she's not the daughter. She married the son of the basically heir to the throne. And she's a lot more bothered about the business than the son, from what I can gather, right? And she comes in and she says, have you seen all of these fakes that are now getting sold? All the fake Gucci bags, all the fake replicas around the world that people are buying in New York's, and, you know, like stuff that's getting handed out for like $50, $60 that looks exactly the same. And Mr. Gucci said, you don't understand this, right? And it was a wonderful business lesson. He was the founder of this like multi-billion-dollar business, and this was the lady who married in, who wanted the money by the, you know, by all accounts. So she was angry, she was emotional, she was all sorts of she was not logical, let's put it that way, with how a business is run. And she tried to apply logic. No, she was logical. She tried to apply logic to how a business is run and how people buy. And she said, this fake stuff is going to cost us money. And Mr. Gucci, who was now 80, whatever he was at the time, he said, no, you don't get this. Our customer doesn't buy fakes. The people who are buying fakes were never our customers in the first place. Our customers don't buy the bag, they buy the feeling of buying the bag. So it was never about the bag, it was about the ability to say, I bought a Gucci. And I've joked with Natalie about this, right? She loves handbags. And since that day, I laugh like crazy with her. I'm like, that's exactly the same. We walk down the street in New York. I'm like, just buy the fucking bag for $50. It's exactly the same shit that you got in your hand, right? I'm not a bag or watch or whatever person. Just get the bag. And she'd be like, no, but it's the same. I'm like, look, it smells the same. It looks the same. It's got the bag. It's like just $50 versus $2,000 or whatever you normally buy. And she won't do it. Not because of the bag, because the feeling she gets for buying the bag. She knows internally, she goes to the Gucci store, and even since COVID, the clever fuckers, right, have all made you do what? Stand outside. Because now it's a show, and it's the selfies, and it's the pictures, and it's the look at me. I'm a Gucci customer. But I could go get the same bag for $50. It looks the same. Nobody'd ever know the difference, but the customer knows the difference. And that's what people in the end buy. They know the feeling that they're buying is a higher level of something. So to answer the question, somebody that's buying $300, $400, $500 PT isn't necessarily always buying a heightened level of PT, although they could be. They're buying the certainty and the feeling and the association with that person that makes them feel really, really good. And that's how every profession, everywhere in the world, ever, period, has ever been sold. We have the nuance that it's healthcare, and there's the guilt, and it's the not everybody, and everybody should, and that's a whole new conversation. But we will never win that argument ever. Our job is not to try and win it. Our job is to go, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is how we make people feel, and this is what the price is. It's completely up to you. If you want to go to Walmart, you're going to be fine. If you want to go to Publix, you might get a little bit better. If you want to go to Vons, you might get some more. That doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's good. It means that if we're trying to get the marketplace as a whole, I think there's a borderline level of arrogance and just stupidity there that it isn't going to happen. First of all, 70-80% of the people, and I said this on a podcast the other day, and it was a bit edgy. I think it was 65. I think I said, I would go out on a limb and say 65% of this entire country will never, ever, ever be a PT type of patient. Ever. And you could look at their bodies, you could look at their lives, and again, this is brutally honest, but the majority of the people who have really shitty lives with health are probably in a hell of a lot of debt. If you ever psychoanalyze it, there's a huge correlation between somebody who is massively in debt and somebody who is massively unhealthy, because this is a habit and a standard, and this is typically a habit and a standard. Not everybody, because there's some things genuinely legitimately which are forced upon you because of biology or DNA. But when we talk about everybody, 65, 70% of this country will never go and see a PT. Even if you give them a free script, they wouldn't go. They just don't care. They're not bothered. They haven't got the discipline to go 12 times. They couldn't do what you told them to do, and they know that they couldn't do it, right? Now, that's a brutal conversation, but that's the reality of it. Same in England. We have free healthcare. You try and get somebody to go, they wouldn't even go to the doctor. They wouldn't even go to the doctor because they couldn't be bothered. The same people wouldn't and couldn't be bothered to send their kids to school. They can't be bothered to go get a job. They can't be bothered. That's who they are. Now, that is a very brutal conversation, but it's not far off. It's not an American conversation. It's a people conversation. They just, how they behave is how they behave. So when you start talking about ruling people out from healthcare, unfortunately, the brutal reality is most people wouldn't be coming. They're not your customers anyway. They ain't coming for PT. They ain't going to pay a $50 copay, never mind $300 PT. And that's what I figured out in my town. I was like, oh, I won't work in Hartlepool. Nobody will come. I was like, I don't need everybody. 90,000 people. There's probably 5,000 people with a little bit of money that could spend some money, right? Let's just go find them. The rest were never going to be my clients anyway. They weren't even going to go and see the free NHS system because they couldn't be bothered to stand in a line. For you to get PT in England, you have to go to a doctor. That rules most out. They have to call somebody. They have to wait, and then they have to go. Then they have to process a referral. I lost you at step 2. But equally, their lives would have been that at every level. And it's horrible to say this, but again, you have to understand that they're not your clients. They're not going to come. They're not going to do what you tell them to do. They're not going to participate in your exercises and go here and go there and then go home and do this and so on and so forth, even if it's free. And I can tell you that because I live in a country that even when it's free, they don't go and do it. The best clients are the one who paid the most money because their ass is on the line and actually do what you tell them to do. The idea that you can get the mass market and everybody wants what you've got, it's guilt thinking, and it's like 50, 60 years out of date type of thinking. We live in a marketplace where there's a Thai restaurant of this standard, but then there's a Thai restaurant where literally the chef got shipped in yesterday with the latest recipe from Thailand, right? And you have to pay $50 to get him. It's like, right, I want that, but this week I'm going to give up on my cigarettes and alcohol to get that. I think any version of trying to play within that system, it's futile. You ain't going to win. So that's what I think. I think you put your value out. You have to realize that most people they're not buying what you're selling. That's the other thing. Dan Kennedy taught me that very early. Most businesses aren't selling what the customer's buying, and most people aren't buying what the business is selling. It's completely wrong. You think you're selling PT, they're buying your experience. They're buying your magic. They're buying your flair. They're buying your energy. They're buying your love. They're buying you remembered my name, and so on and so forth. But you're trying to sell them on a PT session, and that's typically not how most people buy. To become a commodity, or to be, when you're a commodity, you need more and more volume. That's the sign of a commodity business. It's volume. You show me a PT, and there's thousands of them, 90% of them. What's the solution? More volume, more volume, more volume. That's code for I'm a commodity. I haven't got anything different, with no magic, no customer service, no sprinkle of love or Disney or fun. It's just a transaction. Hello, sign the form, get your PT, pay your bill. Thanks for coming. See you next week. It's polite and it's nice. And I think that's what a lot of people think. We've got good customer service. Polite, nice, thank you, great. But it's just basic. It's just basic things that doesn't really move the needle between $100 and $50 in copay or $350. Wow, this is amazing. You guys are fantastic. I remembered you tonight, and I told my husband about you. I told my wife, or I'm telling everyone about you, how you treat me. How's the PT? Oh, that's okay. But I remember everything about you. And that was the difference. And I can remember vividly. I used to go on holiday. I'd be coming here with Natalie. I was 28. Clinic was still running. I'd be here for 3 weeks. My sister lived in San Diego, so I was out regularly. Go to Hawaii. I was telling the guys today. When I go back to England, I've traveled everywhere. Mumbai, I was talking to you guys. I've been all over the world, and I've done that through running a business. So I would disappear for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Australia 9 weeks, 10 weeks. I used to ring up after 2 weeks, go, I'm not coming home. Can somebody just take care of the schedule for 2 months or whatever? And whenever I disappeared, I'd come back and I'd go for a coffee, I'd go to the cricket club, or I'd go somewhere in my town in England, and I'd bump into a patient and they were, oh, I was at your clinic last week. I was like, oh, how did it go? I always knew I had a good business when they said, your girls were amazing. Oh, Paul, your girls were amazing. The girls? Oh, yeah, the girls on the front desk. They made me a coffee. They had some fun with me. They gave me a hug. They gave me a love. And I'd be like, how was your back? Oh, my back's doing well. My back's all right. Back's doing good. But they always led with, your girls were amazing. And that's when I knew I had a business that would last well beyond me. And I could travel, and I could license it and be here and live in America. It's still, you can ring it now and it'll, in 2 hours, I'll answer the phone. But if they ever said the treatment was amazing, I was in trouble. I knew I didn't have a business that was different. I knew I could get one person to do that, but I couldn't get it scale. I couldn't get it to go. And I couldn't get something that would last 20 years, 25 years. There's no business that's built on its thing that can last that long. And every I've done CEO sessions for 9 years now. Everyone who walks in that doors and goes, I've got a rock star PT, I just literally go, oh shit. How much money does he make? Brings in $500,000. Oh fuck, we're in trouble. We're in trouble because like that's the business is built on him and his skill, not the sum of all of its parts. And that's what you've essentially got to do, is dismantle the business to make it about the experience and the people on the front desk and the overall personality of the business, because that in the end is what people buy. They're not buying PT. They never have. Very rare. Does that answer your question? All right. What else? Any from the floor?
So how we shift the gears? Like we are also in insurance-based business.
Yeah.
Our clientele is almost 90% insurance-based and 10% cash-based. But now we want to shift the gears, but we are afraid. Like how to change the gears and
I don't think you change the gears, and I've maintained this for 10 years. I've watched clinic owners go from literally closing the doors at 5 o'clock on a Friday, insurance and open up on a Monday morning at 9 o'clock, right? And that's red or black, right? That's like, let's go to Vegas and risk the fucking farm, right? And I don't live like that. I've never lived it. In fact, one of the questions answered earlier, do we take risks or do we manage risks? Everybody thinks entrepreneurs take risks. The best business owners don't take risks, they manage risks. See the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Vegas is take a risk. Let's go to Vegas, let's take $1,000 and put it red or black. It's a risk. But if we're managing risk, we're going, okay, well, we're not going to put $1,000 here. Right? We might put $20 in this one. We might put 50 in the slot machine. We might put a little bit over here, and we might actually just keep $100 just in case. And so we've still got $1,000 and we're spreading it around, but we're managing risk. I think if you close the doors on a Monday or a Friday at 5 o'clock as an insurance and open up as a cash, I honestly had a guy called Stephen Dunn in Austin who did it, and it was just like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And he did very well, but he was the exception, not the rule. Your risk is managed. I would bring them in. Bring them in. As an insurance business owner, it's actually easy to be an insurance business owner and be more profitable. And nobody will believe me on this, but the easiest sale is the second sale. If you stay a clinician, you're going to run an insurance-based business. You provide the treatment and they leave. If you become an entrepreneur, so if a non-PT came in and bought your business, right? You said, you run my business for 12 months. The first thing that they would do would go, show me all your customers, and then show me what else they bought. Then all they do is obsess for 12 months of going, how do we take that guy who we got paid $100 a session for 45 minutes and turn them into customer number 2 that did $2,000? That's all they would do for 12 to 18 months. And the business would go from $500,000 to 1.5 million in 18 months. And everybody else would be thinking, well, how did you do that? And it was that principle. It happened to me in real life with Dan, right? And again, I always go back. Dan Kennedy brought me in to an event in, I think it was, where was it at? Where was the first one I went to? St. Louis, right? I went to an event in St. Louis. It was all about how to be a consultant in information marketing and all these things that I do today. And somehow I got in the wrong room. I thought I was going to an event to learn how to market my PT clinic. But I learned this thing about basically what I do today. And then at the end of it, I'm like, I think I was in the wrong room. They're like, oh, it's fine. I come back in March to Texas. I was in Dallas for the bricks and mortar business. And then years later, I realized what Dan's model was he brings you in as a bricks and mortar business, right? Like the practitioner running his business. And then once he's made you a success of running your business, then he turns you into the teacher, teaching how to run the business. And his entire business was built on I get you for one, and I get you to be the second. If the first one works, I'd get you to be the second one within 18 months. I walked in Dan's world as a PT, learning how to run a PT business. Within 2 years, I'd spent 6 figures on learning how to teach what I'd learned building the business, right? And it turns out that is the fastest way to grow a business. That I go from clinic 1, I go from customer 1 to customer 2. That is something that if I could just wave a magic wand for all of you, that you just go home tonight and just obsess over how do I go from that first thing to buying the second thing, because the second thing that they buy, the only reason for buying the first thing is to sell them the second thing. If you just embrace that, you will double and triple all of your businesses within 12 to 18 months. The only reason that you accept insurance is for the privilege of offering them the cash pay thing next. That's it. And anybody who's defaulting on that, you are in a world ahead. There is no other reason. And even if you're a fully cash pay business, the only reason for getting you for the first transaction is to earn the right to sell you the second thing. We got the customer. We didn't get the sale. We got the sale. We didn't get the sale to get the money. We got the sale to get the customer. The customer became somebody for life. Whereas what most businesses do is, oh, we've got the sale. We've got the first $1,500. Great. Hopefully they'll come back. Well, they might. But they're only going to come back in at the same margins and same thing that like it's proven beyond doubt that there isn't that much upside in it. So the mind becomes, or the mindset becomes, I get the sale to get the customer. In my case, the customer was the accelerator, right? I got the sale. The sale became buy accelerator program so I could get the customer for life. 10 years in. You buy the program, but I got the chance to earn the right to be in your life for 10 years. See the difference? And that's what I knew early on. I got the initial thing was to earn the right to be in your life for 10, 15, 20 years. And then it just became about what did you need next? What product, what service, who, what, how. If I earned the right, I got the chance to earn the right. And that's what whether you're cash, whether you're insurance. If you take nothing else, that's the ultimate. The ultimate model is built on less customers buying more frequently. And that's something that's so grossly misunderstood in the PT profession. It's just volume, more. You can't. None of you, I'm not that good of a marketer that you can keep finding all these people. You will never keep earning their attention for PT. That we're in a model, it's not dentist. I'm coming back every 6 months because my mum took me from 1 year old and she ingrained a habit in me every 6 months to go see a dentist. She didn't do that with you. I didn't have back pain because I was 18 and I didn't have back pain. I didn't have hip pain until I was 40 or whatever. But I went to a dentist every 6 months. So I knew I needed to go every 6 months. We don't have that. So we have to be very good and very aggressive. And I think that's what a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, people go back to the dentist. And it's like, yeah, but it was a conditioned behavior from our parents from 6 months old. No marketer in the world can ever beat that. But we can get a client on the front end with back pain and go, hey, what else? What type of life do you want? Is this just about back pain or is this about quality of life? Quality of life, we've got this for you. Do this, and this. Do you want to see how it works? Can I show you? Do you want to come to a workshop? Do you want to join a webinar? Do you want to speak to some clients who've done it? Shall I get my staff to give you a demo, a free trial, a month off, a month this? That sounds cool. Okay, so we've got 10 clients. 5 of them say yes, and bang. You brought in 100 clients who spent $1,000, but 50 of them went on to spend $3,000. And there was no marketing cost. And if you do it right, there's no PT cost because it's all tech or it's all machines or it's all admin. That's where the margins just go from 5%, 7% typical for an insurance business to 15%. In some cases now, as you've seen in CEO, 25, 30, 35% margins, 100% possible. So that's how you do it. It's not the courage, it's the strategy. to do it. I'm not that courageous. I just try to follow basic proven paths that somebody else has done. I'm not reinventing any wheels. I'm not red or black by any means. Just that's the path. It's blatantly obvious. That's where we go next. If you commit to that for 12 to 18 months, the front end brings in its clients and you do a good job, you service them, you love them, you have fun with them, they like you, they'll ask you what else they can buy off you. And so there's no courage there. There's just very good, simple strategy. And this is the bit, like these things have been around for 100 years of how these businesses work. It's like most people spend more time fighting how a business works rather than just embracing this is how it works. Like this hotel, the hotel in making all its money on the rooms. How much have we just spent on room service? How many of you have ever been into a hotel and not gone to the bar or had breakfast or fuck? Like that's the second and the third sale. That's what I'm getting at. The hotel doesn't make money on the rooms. The hotel makes money on the stupid prices at the bar or room service when people can't be asked to go down. So they ring up and pay $20 for fucking eggs when they could go and get it in there probably for $6. One customer became a second customer. The most, I can't think if it's Walmart, but basically any of these Walmart, Vons, whatever, the most amount of money is made where it's the most expensive or most checked out. You never went in for that magazine and the fucking Tic Tacs and all that shit that's there, the Mentos and all that crap. That's where all the money is made, or the highest amount of additional revenue. I went in for the eggs or the tomatoes or whatever it was, and I got to the checkout, and in my case, fucking 5 kids. Can I have this? Can I have that? Can I have the other? Like, fucking hell, I only came in to spend $12 on eggs, right? And I've spent $70 on a Batman magazine, Mentos, Tic Tacs, and fucking gum and other shit, right? I walked out and somehow I've got a $70 bill. Right at the end, the upsell. Just put it in their way. And the lesson is put it in the way. Make them see it. You don't, right? Like you don't. In your head, it's like we've got this machine or we've got this thing out the back. Ricky Morgan, I'll leave you with this one. So Ricky's in North Dakota and he showed me the plans for his new office, right? Only a year and he's aggressive and he's doing great. And, he said, I'm in this room and I'm gonna go and get this building. He said, this bit in the middle, I'm gonna leave for the staff lunch room. I was like, why? He said, we're gonna do PT here, we're gonna have lunch here, and this is gonna be the gym, the wellness thing. I was like, I'll ask again, why? I said, knock the fucking thing down and put a big glass wall right in the middle. Put a glass wall between the two, or at the very least, some couple of windows. He said, why? I said, so when I'm having PT, I can see somebody doing that. And when I'm having that, I can see that. What the fuck do you want a canteen or whatever in the middle for? Most of the time, they're only not buying it because they don't know that you have it. 101 in any business should be, particularly your clinic, right, where you've got all these machines. Is this your first session? Yes, great. Well, you need to arrive 30 minutes early. Why? For the tour. The fucking Hollywood tour bus that's going around here, right? I've seen 65 of them since I've been here. You have to give them the tour of the clinic. You arrive at 9 o'clock and you don't sit in your seat and get walked into some fucking room with some guy that you never see anything else. You get walked in at 9 o'clock and you go, thank you, sign the form. But would you like tea or coffee? Great. There's the coffee. I'm going to walk you around the clinic. This is the room for this. And this is where we do this. And this is where we do. And if you'd like to refer your mother, she can come here. And if you'd like to do this and you'd like to do X. Oh, so you mean by just explaining to me that you've got all of these things, you've increased the likelihood I'll buy? Yes. How many do it? Nobody does it. How many people get a box? All of you get boxes off me. You get all sorts of shit. You've bought this, but you get this. We do this. We do this. And basically, whenever you're ready, Jess does the thing. Part of your thing, isn't it? Somebody said, we also do this. We've got this when you're ready. We've got a big event coming up in October. We've got this. We've got this. And we've got the other. Like, for us not to tell you that we have all of these things is criminal. We got the customer to earn the right to get the other sales or the other things that they might need, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, we're not bothered. But if you're going to buy it, the criminal thing that I go about, I'm like, don't let them buy it from somebody else without knowing that we have it. And that's where it goes wrong in businesses. You don't do the tour of the, and it's again, it's the original dentist model. The dentist in the 80s, this is the hygienist, this is the person who does this is the person who does this. This is great. This is where basically what we're saying is this is where you're going to go for the rest of your life. But for whatever reason, physios don't. So I don't think you need the courage. You just need a good strategy and a willingness to execute it, and probably a realistic time frame of 2 or 3 years, because everybody wants to do it in 3 months. And it doesn't. I'm 10 years into this business, and I sit here and, I was 2016, I started coming here with Natalie, and God, like, my life is completely unrecognizable in 10 years. But if I'd have tried to do that in 1 year, but it's also gone like that. Blink of an eye, it's gone like that. And that's the mistake. Everyone thinks they can do it overnight, and it's probably not gonna. Probably not. It's probably for you 2 to 3 years, but you've got volume, you've got people coming through the door, and it's great. The only thing I'll be working on now is how do I go 50% of every client. So if we get 100, probably not 100 clients, but visits, how many is that? 20 new clients a week, maybe 25? Okay, so cool. Inside of the business, the model becomes 10 of those 25 buy something else. If you do that for 12 months and obsess over it and just ask me, any of the coaches, any of the clients, any of the members, how do I get somebody to go from there to there? And the metric is out of 25, 10 of them do it. You guys will have suitcases to take money home. If you fuck around with anything else, good luck. And you just pick that one thing that's going to make the difference. And you don't need courage for that. You need a willingness and a determination to make it work. That's what I would say. Don't risk the farm. You've watched me for 10 years. I'm not red or black. I don't come out and go do this. I'm very conservative. I'm very pragmatic. I can be hype and I can be whatever, but generally you watch my decisions. They're very logical. They're very just make sense. But I just go all in on them when I make the decision. There's no sell the house and risk the farm and all of that type of stuff. There's no big bet on any stocks or crypto or anything. It's just do your homework, makes sense to me, let's go for it, and then stick at it for a year and watch it come to fruition. Then make that work, then make the next one work. So over 10 years you've got 5, 6, 7 things that are all working simultaneously in the business. And that's the key, simultaneous. You won't like this, maybe it's not, you might not, I don't know, right? I'm in Los Angeles, but you have a president who, for all his faults, one of the things that he's unbelievable at is simultaneous. That he can do so many fucking things. It blows everybody's brains how many things he does. And again, I'm not getting into the politics of right or wrong, but what makes him so hard to understand and why the press and other people don't get him is because he can go boom, 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 boom. The media and the world are used to a politician that is sequential. When we've done this, then we do that. He has been a realtor where he'll have had this construction, he's had this, he's had that, he's having a fight here, he's having a fight there, and he's just brought that to the presidency, right? He's brought his business acumen to the presidency. And again, I'm not getting into is it right, is it wrong? But if you watch what he does, what so many people have a problem with is how many fucking things he does at any one point. He's literally starting a game of pool or snooker, whatever you call it here, right? Blowing the balls apart, go and pot one, and then go and start another game, and all these are still unfinished. To everybody else, it's like, well, he only did that last week, and then he's doing that, and then he's doing. He's a business owner, and that's what they do. They're like, they start this, they start that, they start the other, and all of these things are in the atmosphere. But what most people are doing is, well, when I've done that, then I'll do that, and it don't really, once we've got this right, it's like, no, we've got to start. We've got the patient. Now let's get that one moving. Now let's set some up on Facebook. Now let's get that going. Now let's get that going. Let's get that going. And that's what you find with most business owners. That's how they're playing. There's multiple things going on at any one time inside of their business. That's what you're watching. And there's lots of reasons why people don't like him. But one of them, it's so hard for people to deal with what he does at the speed, because nobody's ever done that. Even the press can't. It just doesn't make sense to them as to how fast he moves and how many decisions he makes. But he's a business owner. He's setting that one off in play while he then goes off and does that one. He sets that one off in play, then he comes back to that one. Like, and to everybody else, this is uncontrolled chaos. It's like, to him, it's how he's probably done it all his life. But that's how most business owners operate. That it's not perfect here, so we then got to go. We're going to go start this one, and I think that's what I'd be doing if I was you. I'd be setting this is running now. Let's go get this in play for 12 to 18 months, and get that one in play. Then come back to that one. Yeah, most things are going to take you to be done right. They're going to probably take 2 or 3 years before you feel. So that's what I'm getting at. We've got to start these things just enough to get them in the atmosphere, not enough where we're scatterbrained and it's like squirrels, but 2 or 3, 4 things where you go, get that one in play, get that one in play, get that one in play. That might take 2 or 3 years. But if we wait 2 or 3 years for that, before we start that, like, there's no, the marketplace will kill you before you've had time to grow. And I wrote about that in one of the books. The problem is for most business owners, and that's why I referenced Trump, he'll start all these things. They're all out in the atmosphere. 9 of them will be shit, but 1 of them will pop in business. And if I try to outrun the market with, like, when I finish that, what typically you're finding is I've just finished that, but then shit, this thing over here, reimbursements went down, pay raises went up, COVID came along. Oh, fuck, I've just got this thing finished here and it was perfect. If you didn't ask for a pay raise and COVID didn't come and Newsom didn't do this and this didn't happen and Trump didn't say that, fuck, the speed at which you're trying to play, the marketplace is going to go significant. If AI didn't, oh, Paul, now I have to figure out AI. Oh, shit. I've just got this settled. Now you want me to do this? Like, now you're going to have all 3 or 4 in the air at any one point to get it to where you want to be. And I think that's the bit that a lot of PT struggle with, genuinely, because we're so logical. You've been trained to be, when this, then that. If this, then that. But business ownership is boom, literally 3, 4, 5, a game of pool or snooker, boom, blow the balls up, see where the nearest one is, pot that, come back to that one. And that's not how most PTs operate. So I don't think you need courage. I just think you need a good plan and the discipline to stick at for 12 to 18 months with anything that you're doing. Reasonable acknowledgement of the progress, 200 grand, 300 grand, whatever. Good, fair. Don't try and get 2 million in a year. You might, but probably not in our world because of the localized nature of the customer base. But you could jump from 500 to 750 in a year easily. 750 to 1.2 million easily. 1.2 to 1.8, yes. 200 to 2 million. I've never seen anybody do that. Maybe as if you are a big doctor referred, in network, 6 doctors who love you, you might, but not your typical independent mom and pop style clinic. Anything else? Tell me on. Croft.
So what I have here is I have the assets in place for the red light therapy.
Yep.
I have manual therapy, and that's rocking. That's our main business. So, and I also got this new technology, neurofeedback. And then I've got these other ancillary things we just add on, like whole body vibration, got 3D and posture analyzer, we've got body composition analyzer. How do I, I don't have 6 months to 18 months to get things up and going. How do I be able to get things up and rolling in the next 3 years?
I just, you're the treating therapist 25, 30 hours a week. So there's your challenge. Your challenge is either be super dad, superhero, and you sleep 3 hours a day, or you, and genuinely, this is the answer you like. So we've got the event coming up, right, in LA in 5 weeks in this hotel. And some people will say, I can't come to that event because I have patients on the Friday and the Monday. But then what they'll say is, I'm not happy with my business. I can't grow it and I'm not making as much money as I would like. I would like to come to your event, but I can't come on Friday and Monday. So the reason that they can't come is the reason that they'll never be able to come. And at some point in all of our lives, you either, and I'll take this into PT clinic space. We're not venture capital backed. Unless you've got a sugar daddy or a trust fund, right? You might be a trust fund kid, I don't know, right? No, most of us aren't, right? What that means is we haven't got big numbers to fall back on. The stock market isn't funding this. There's nobody saying there's 100 grand, go make some, lazy decisions and do what you want when you want. There's an inevitability to when we get to a certain point, we reach a capacity that time isn't on our side, and we are 20 grand a month or 25 grand a month. Usually that's where you find it. Generally what we see in the community, when somebody hits 20 grand a month, it's usually them and a solo practitioner and a person answering the phone, right? Voice AI probably now, but then what they'll say is, I'd like to come to LA, but I can't take Wednesday off to get there and start Thursday, Friday, and my flight doesn't leave, so my client's on Monday. I can't take that time off. But I want to learn how to hire. And I know I need to know KPIs, and I know I need to learn how to do workshops, or I know I need to learn about AI now or whatever. So they'll never come because they've hit a point where their output is responsible for everything inside of the business. What you need is what you talked about, right? You don't need courage to do what you do. You need the courage to go, I'm going to say no to clients for 30 to 60 days. Instead of an emergency Miss Sally who rings at 1 o'clock and you put her on your schedule, which you do, and you'll tell yourself that you have to because Supercroft has to swoop in and save the day. And what used to piss me off, and I'll tell you this from absolute fucking 15 years of doing this. Can I have an appointment tomorrow? I'm like, fucking hell, I'm busy. I've 2 hours of patience. Oh, I'm in agony. How bad? Oh, it's really bad, right? Really bad. All right, I'll start at 7 o'clock. So I get in, and Sally will come in and she'll go, thanks for fitting me in. I'll be like, how long have you had this pain? She'll be like, oh, well, 6 months. I've been 6 months on and off, and I just got into a bit of a fuss last night, and I called you and thanks for fitting me in. So I'm like, let me get this straight. This emergency that you've got me fucking out of bed for again, right, for 7 o'clock has been going on for 6 months. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. And the story is, the point of the story is, that's nearly how it works. It took me a long time to realize I was never in the pain game, ever. And I could probably count on one hand the number of people who walked in or couldn't walk in. Let's put it that way. There might have been 10 clients who walked in with raging sciatica. And the naivety of me at the time thought I could fix them. And I should have just turned around and went, there's the ambulance, get to fucking hospital. Because I can't help you. If you can't walk, you're on morphine, you've got tears in your eyes, I'm not your guy. I don't do that. I never have, and I've never been able to fix any of you. If you've got long-term chronic ankle pain, knee pain, back pain, I can get you moving, I can get you walking, I can get you out the door, and you're going to have a good quality of life. So the idea that I always needed to see that patient, I had to let go in the end is what I'm getting at. But that's what most people do. Some of you will have every intention of on my 12 o'clock call on a Wednesday. That morning, Sally rings and says, I need to be in today because I'm in a lot of pain. And you go, okay, I'll get you in at 12 o'clock. But I could have been on Paul's call hearing about something that helped me understand hiring or AI or whatever it was more, but I chose to do the thing that's keeping me stuck. So I keep going back to my default pattern, my behavior, what does Tony Robbins call it? And ironically, I came to the convention center to see Tony Robbins. It's another story of LA. We run these blueprints, we run these labels, we run these things that like the identity that we've got of ourselves as a PT. So the PT in me has to go back to treating patients. But once I cut the cord on being the PT and I go, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner, I can't behave like that anymore. I've got to do this now. That's a big shift I need to make. And I made it and had to make it in the end. The only solution, if I was sitting with you running a business plan, and I probably did tell you this in September, you either go borrow the money and you get somebody to do it for you. So we go get a bank loan, we go get a line of credit, we borrow the money, and we pay somebody to do the thing that I currently can't do, leverage. I hire somebody at 60, 70, 80 grand a year who is competent enough to build the sales system, build the infrastructure, build the marketing plan, build landing pages, build the email systems, build whatever. Because that's how I'll sell the thing that you've got. So you've bought all of these fancy whiz bang things, right? So we've built, and I always say this, you've heard of Harrods in London? The biggest, well, was the biggest store in the world, right? Like Macy's on New York. You've basically built Macy's and nobody knows it exists. So you've gone and got the red light, the shockwave, yada, 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 and you're probably in for, I don't know, how many? Thousands, 10, 20, 30?
As in what,
All the equipment.
100 and
All right, let's leave it at 100, right? So I'm laughing because for some reason we're happy to get 150 grand's worth of equipment in the corner that does nothing. But Paul would come along and say, should we hire a marketing assistant for 3 or 4 grand a month to learn or to market that? Right? And 99% of PTs would say no. There's a visceral reaction to having to market somebody to do that. But there I am with 150 grand's worth of stuff collecting dust in the corner. And somehow I think that's acceptable. That's the bit that needs to be understood. That I'm happy with that level of debt, but I can't risk 3 or 4 grand a month or 5 grand a month or whatever on somebody who might be able to help me sell it. When you answer that question, you can make progress. I buy the machinery, but I won't invest in the person or the agency or the thing or the coach or whoever to sell it. Or you just said 150 grand. So right now I've got 150 grand's worth of stuff doing nothing. You could take maybe, and again, I'll just be conservative, 6 months off, go sell all of that shit and take 6 months off, build the marketing system. Don't treat any patients for 6 months, sell all of that equipment, which is 150 grand, give yourself 6 months off and spend nothing but all of your time building a marketing system to then go and release them and make a load of money. Everybody following? Why am I happy to spend 150 on stuff that doesn't do anything because I don't know how to sell it, but continue to treat my patients? In theory, I could have given myself 6 months off, paid myself 150 grand instead of buying the stuff, built the marketing system, then gone and leased the things, and I probably could have made $1 million over 2 or 3 years. The profession has an unbelievable habit of buying things and stuff. And I joke all the time. If I was at, in fact, I was at, where did we go, Jay? What was that one in Orlando we went to? PPS? What's it called? PPS. PPM's mine. PPS. Private practice section. So you go in and there's all these fancy machines, underwater treadmills, shockwave, this, that, and the other, yeah? I would love to go. They would never let me. But I'd have a big fucking stall right where the exit door is, with basically a big sign on it saying, you've just spent 100 grand on shit. Now let me teach you how to sell that shit. And every one of the vendors should be paying me to teach you how to sell it. Because that's the problem. None of you know how to sell the thing that you buy. You buy it and they go, oh, it's the megahertz and it's this and it's the depth of the frequency and all of this shit, right? And everyone's like, oh, this is amazing. 50 megahertz of depth. I'm like, what the fuck's that? But it radiates faster. What was the CEO session? Did you hear it? The CEO session in January, it might have been the one before. Carrie had just come back from Shockwave's conference in Boston, and they were all talking about this new Shockwave machine, right? And so I'm sat on the table going, what the fuck's this, right? And she went, oh, it's this new machine we've all bought. And I went, what is it? And she went, oh, it's this new machine that penetrates at this depth and it does this megahertz. And I literally went, I ask again, what is it? She went, oh, it's shockwave that penetrates at a depth of this speed and this whatever. I went, I ask again, what the fuck is it? And I went, now can you explain to me what difference it is to the one you just bought, which is 50 grand more expensive, right? This one's 50 grand. She went, well, it penetrates faster and deeper and oscillates more. And I went, I ask again, what benefit to the client? She went, it penetrates faster and deeper and but I'm like, you expect to sell this? What did the first one do? She went, well, we used it and it helped clients and it did this and that. I said, well, why don't we just market that one better than go buy this one? I said, because you've all been to some fancy fucking conference and you're all there excited about the megahertz and the frequencies and all this type of shit that they sold you in on. That means nothing to me as the customer. And I'm the only one that matters. Send the thing back and let's figure out how to sell that one, which is 50 grand cheaper, better. Do you genuinely believe that the client thinks that there's any different going on? Oh, yeah, but Paul, the research says. I'm like, well, good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Because that's what you're all getting bought in on, is the megahertz, the frequency, the velocities, and all these things. Not the what does it do for the customer. And if you know that, that's it. And that's the problem, is that everybody's bought in on all of the science and the facts versus what does the customer understand about this? I'm brash. I'm maybe arrogant, I don't know, right? Whatever I come across on stage or on podcasts or whatever. But one thing I've always known is my customer better than anybody as to what they want and what they think and what they know. And I've only ever played in that conversation, in that lane. I know you better than yourself. And that was the same for my client at 50 or 60. I knew my 55-year-old client better, and I was 32 at the time. I knew her better because she was my mum. It was my mother. I was treating my mother, and I knew what my mother's fears were. She didn't want to be like my grandma, and I knew what grandma, and I just was obsessed over what they all were thinking. And how do I talk to you like that? And how do I explain things to you in that realm? And that was my success. I could have had a machine in 1956, and I'd make more money out of it than you because I knew how to explain it to somebody better than the machine that you just bought, which is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. To answer your question, you will need to take time out of your day that might involve sacrificing 15 patients a week for 3 months. That you ferociously dedicate your time to building some kind of internal sales system that takes this patient from here to there. And that might cost you 40 grand. And you're going to go, holy shit, Paul just advised me to take a pay cut for 40 grand. Or he helped me build a system that made us 200 grand a year for the next 10 years. That's all I've ever done. I took a pay cut here for a month or 2 months or 3 months to build or write or buy or do or whatever I'd done, that on the paper to Natalie might be like, Paul, but you're not making any money, not treating patients. I was like, yeah, but I'm building this thing. And when that comes to fruition, we'll keep making money long after I've stopped doing it. And that's how leverage works. And that's a head fuck for people to get into, because you're so used to treatment, money, treatment, paid, treatment, gratification. And even if it's not money, it's the thank you, you've helped me. When I'm telling you to go and build a sales system that doesn't give you any appreciation, doesn't like you, will fuck up in the first 3 times that you do it, it's a new skill altogether to deal with things that don't immediately give you any gratification. But that's where all of the big money's made. Everybody in LA tonight who's ever made any money probably toiled for 10 years before they made any money. There's no other, whether they're actors, whether they're whatever, the stories will have been, we got rejected here, rejected there, yada yada. 10 years later, somebody gave them a chance, but then they went on to make X. So I think you just need to decide, I need the time, and that's all that's ever at stake. The time and the commitment, the willingness to say, I'm going to build this in 3 months, version 1. It's going to be a mess, but I'm going to tweak it to get version 2. And then I'm going to get version 3. And maybe by this time next year, we're actually starting to see 10, 12 grand a month come in as a result of this thing. But I've built something that's repeatable. Then I'm going to go and build another one. That's another 100 grand system and another one. Before I know it, there's 300 grand coming in on these 3 systems while this thing goes on over here.
So are you talking about funnels or
everything? I mean, internal marketing systems. What's the message? What's the KPIs? We've got 20 clients a month. I need to get 10. So I need to identify 10. Cool. How do I identify them? Who are they? What do they want? How do we speak to them? Let's put Croft on video on an iPad. Every client that walks through the door, you must watch this iPad. It's a message from Croft explaining the business, how it works, what else is available. Croft is doing every Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month, an explanation of how the business works. First Saturday of the month, what other options are available. Even if 3 people turn up, you do it. I'd have done this tonight if one of you had turned up. When I did my first accelerator program, 1 person would have bought, I would have done the program. Doesn't matter. 1, because I'd have learned my lessons from the second one, and I'd have got 5, and then I got 10. And I think I got 4 on the first one. These were the numbers: 4, 12, 50 plus. 4 on the first one, 12 on the second, 50 plus on the third. Then on the 4th, it was 70, and boom, my life had changed within 12 months. But some people would have been like, there's only 4 people, I'm not going to do it, and yeah, no one showed up, and all that bollocks. All right.
so what you're saying is to scale the teaching from one-on-one to one-to-many.
Yes, make more people aware of the fact that you've got them inside of the business. The simplest shift is, I'm a brand new client. there's a box of stuff or their information. That's what else is available here. And I'm just going to explain how this works and that works. And you've come in for foot pain, but if and when you ever get back pain, or if and when this, I've got this or this. And if you got a friend, you've got friends at work, do you mind giving them this? Have you got any friends in their 60s who want X? Give them this. Thank you. And next Tuesday, I'm running a class on how to live a terrific life in your 60s and 70s. And I'll talk to you about diet and fitness and wellness and sleep. Do you want to come? Cool. And at the end of it, I'll explain to you how our monthly membership works to get access to all of these things. In fact, I do that once on a Tuesday and once on a Saturday. Everyone who comes, that's part of your indoctrination to come to these events. And if only 2 people show up, so be it. Some weeks 12 will show up, some weeks 1 will show up. But I run that for 12 months. I'll probably speak to 80 people. 40 of them will become monthly membership clients. That's it. Your challenge is not enough people know what you've got and how it helps them. And it's always with you. How many events have you been to with me, right? You've been to a few now. Is there ever not, when I sell something from stage, go and get the information? There's always a box. There's always a brochure. There's always a book. There's always some version of this. It's like, at the very least, read it. Take your time. Take that back to the hotel room. I'll send it in the post. Come to the webinar. I've got a webinar next weekend. Like, I'm here tonight. We're just always talking to people about what we do and how we help them over a 2-hour, 3-hour window. And that's why it works. 2 people could show up on that webinar next weekend. It's Easter. It's a punt. Sunday. 2-3 people. So what? I'm there. Like, that just works for me in my calendar. I'm there. That's the weekend I can do it. If 3 people show up, I'll take the punt that one will become a customer. That's it. Like, that. But the reality is 50, 60 will show up, right? Like, but it doesn't matter. Just do the thing and talk to people and help them understand what you're doing. And then they might say yes on that webinar. Some of them will come back in 6 months, or some will go, I don't want to do this, but I will come to LA. Okay, cool. They took a webinar about AI and ended up in LA. But whatever. See you there. They took a book and ended up. You just give them enough opportunities to learn from you and understand what's happening. And I think the difference for most people of where they are and where, let's even say another 20%, right? Imagine all of us having another 25% on top of what we took home last year. That 25% for most of us is that the customer didn't know what you sold. And I still get pissed, by the way, and take this the right way. My staff don't do a good enough job of explaining AI or the event or X or Y or Z. I still hit the fucking roof on a Monday. What am I like? Like, I'm a bastard, right? Jess will probably, she'll be the one who'll be able to tell you the best, right? Bastard's being polite. Like, I hit the roof. I'm like, surely you told him. Oh, well, we forgot. Fucking, like, tell him we've got this, we've got the webinar, we've got this event, we've got the other. Did you explain that? Boom. Because half of it is just, did they know that we had it? No. Well, they couldn't buy from us. So 9/10 of it is just make sure that they know that you've got the service. Then let's get fancy after, right? Further down the line. But even if you just went away tonight and made sure every customer knew that you offered X, Y, and Z with information that they can take home and read at their leisure. My office is a mess when you walk through the door of shit, brochures, leaflets, flyers, whatever, because we make sure that everybody who signed, send them this, send them that, send them the other. Oh, but we sent them a DVD. Oh, we sent them. They don't read it. They don't watch it. Physically send them the fucking thing through the post, and that's what I've been good at from day one, is making sure everybody knew I had a what's next, and that you've got the what's next. But the criminal thing, you don't tell them that you've got it, and that there should be 2 things for me. One, you get the first sale, not for the money, for the customer, to earn right for the second sale. That if I treat you well enough and my staff love you and we take care of you and you like us and love us and all of these things, we've earned the right for the second sale. You've got machinery. Ironically, lots of people haven't got the machinery, but you've got the machinery, but you're not telling anybody. And then the second one is, do you do a good enough job of helping them understand and know that you've got it? I promise you, if you just put that into your business, same with yours. Like, do they understand what you do? Right? If I got you on stage, the more I get to know you, right? I've done this. I did a podcast with somebody the other day, and he went, it was a Chris, you remember? And he said, "What we're going to talk about?" I said, "Nothing that you want to talk about. Nothing." Right? He's like, "Yeah, but." I was like, "Nope, because you're going to want to talk about all of this fucking shit inside your software, whatever it was you're going to do, and nobody's going to buy from you." I said, "We're going to talk about you. What do you know about the profession?" Turns out he's been in the profession since 1980. Right? I was like, "This is fucking dynamite. Just tell me what life was like in the 80s as a PT." And it was the best. I was like, "Can we stay?" Like, it was the most entertaining podcast. It'll have just gone up a couple of days ago. He told me about his wife was on 14 grand a year in the 1980s as a PT, and reimbursements for Medicare was $65. Just let that sink in. 14 grand salary, 65 reimbursement versus $100, 100 grand, $85 reimbursement. The entire podcast was based upon that conversation of how wrong the profession is and how it's gone almost impossible. But he wanted to come on. I said, "You're going to get more phone calls off people because they've enjoyed listening to you. If you'd have come on telling everyone about Careware and your fucking Radiance," and I was like, they're gone within 3 minutes, dude. Like, we'll get to that. You have to earn the right for them to want to buy from you. The first 55 minutes you educated me, never mind the listener, they will get in touch with you in abundance because you earned the right to sell to them. What everybody else does is they come on, they go, "Oh, my product, and I want to sell this, and this is my offer, and this is my number." They're not going to buy from you. That's, you get around me, and that's what I'll be like, "Shut up!" Like, literally, I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." Stan does it all the time. I'm like, "Shut up! Just, you're a good guy. Just come on and talk and have fun and tell experiences about the staff and clients and people you've helped, and funny stories from your workshops. Tell all of that shit. Earn the right for them to buy the product. But if you come on and sell, boom, they're off. That's the first rule of business. Earn the right for them to buy from you. And the second one is make sure that they know that you've got other shit that you can help them with. Most of you do that tonight, you'll have a terrific business. All right. Want to wrap? Shameless plug for the summit, Cash Pay Summit, May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Right. Enjoy it. Good. All right. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Takeaways? Good. Strategy, not courage. Jason?
First two things you said. You earn the right to sell more stuff.
And that when you
No.
when you get staff, that's the deal. And because it's, you can do it, right? I could do it with my eyes closed. But when you get the staff,
Like you said, when you come out on a Monday morning, you're like, "Dude, but, how many times do I have to say it?" But it's really just,
how many times you have to say it? Fucking a million a day. That and that, by the way, is genuine real leadership. The ability to say something over and over and over and over and over again and never get bored of saying it. And that's how you grow, because everybody else will be like, "Oh, I've said this and I can't be bothered and I'll try something else." It's like, no, you have to be as absolutely unreasonable. I was saying this to Natalie's dad the other day. He always asks me when he comes over, he's in America at the minute with us. So how have you done this? How have you gone from this to that? And I was like, "I'll tell you how I've done it. I'm the most unreasonable fucker you will ever meet. Bar none. Bar none. I am the most unreasonable human being alive that you will ever meet. Once this is what I want, like, we're getting it. Yes or no?" Like, this is what we do, right? There will be no deviation. There's no, yeah, I'll play and I'll joke and I'll have fun and I'll whatever, but this needs to happen. Whereas, "Oh, well, we've hit a bit of a roadblock." I'm like, and we need to fucking do it. And that again is another place where a little bit of turbulence just takes you off, and before you know it, it's like, what the fuck happened? I set out with wanting to do this, and the more staff you get, the more unreasonable you need to be. You just need to find a way to learn to enjoy it. That's the thing. So he doesn't, because you could just fight with everybody all day, which you kind of do, don't I? Really. I just walk around the office like, fuck, she's off a fuck. He hasn't, fuck. That's just all you do. And then you have to learn to laugh. Otherwise, it gets in the way of enjoyment of life. And that's not the point. Happy? Good. Glad you came. Good. Was it worth leaving the hood? Where have you left? Did you have to bring your passport to get here?
Cross.
Cross, yeah. Neighborhoods. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Oh well, I've enjoyed it. Thank you. All right. Well done. All right. Thank you. Good. Thank you.